Welcome to the Upshot, Multi-World Disc Golf's podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I am the publisher, Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me is Josh Mansfield on this Tuesday, August 1st. Yes, indeed, it is August. That's crazy to me. Summer is moving by, Josh.
Yeah, it is.
It's
weird.
As eagle-eyed viewers on YouTube will know, this is my first time recording back in my apartment for like over a month.
Yeah.
I've been recording from very strange places around the world. So yeah, Josh, how's quick check-in. How's things going? How's your summer been?
It's been good. I'm trying to think what has it's been good. We've got the public hearing on the budget is this week.
Okay.
So that'll almost be done. And then this weekend is the Portland Valley Open. It's an A tier out of Pocatello at that course that's got the cross country ski courses. It is my favorite courses. It's the only tournament that I have to play every year. Emily Yale, listener, Upshot subscriber, she's going to be coming down and playing with us. So we're getting in a practice round tomorrow. But other than that, it's been good. Yeah, can't think of anything too much. Yeah, what about you?
Well, I mean, I was in Finland, you know.
Finland for a month. That's true.
I was grinding away on the disc golf stuff, and then took a little time off last week just to relax, and now back on the grind. About to go out to Denver for a big ultimate tournament. So,
oh, nice. Okay.
Looking forward to catching Ledgestone in the evenings after my games are done. We got Ledgestone coming up. We'll be talking about that in our preview show on Thursday. And we'll make sure to get that out nice and early because the tournament starts on Thursday. I think it's 4-rounder. Mm-hmm. Yep. So maybe we'll even get it out Wednesday. I don't know, but we'll make sure you can listen to it before the start of rounds. We have some very fun stuff this week. We will be today talking with Ohn Scoggins, who joins us on the Upshot for the very first time, if you can believe it. And that's going to be a lot of fun. And then we will have Corey Ellis, the European Open champ, on with us on Thursday's show. So looking forward to talking with Corey as well. And but I thought this would be a good time to kind of catch up on where the season stands right now. We're basically through, I mean, I guess it's a little more than half the season, but we're through half the majors. And we have the biggest tournaments coming up, and we're kind of in this home stretch where we get these Elite Plus, then we're into the playoffs, then we have Worlds, US Women's, and then USDGC and the Pro Tour Championship. So we have a lot of important stuff packed into these next 2.5 months. And so it was a nice chance for us to kind of take a lay of the land. So we're going to get to that in our next segment. But first, let's just talk quickly about what happened this weekend. We had two kind of important tournaments happening over in Europe. We also had the Mid-America Open on the silver event. I didn't say it. I almost said it. I didn't say it. Here in the U.S. And so just quickly, the winners at the Mid-America Open, Missouri native Andrew Presnell becomes the third straight MPO winner at Mid-America to have won their first tour event. So Presnell beats Gannon Burr in a playoff. We'll get to that. And Ohn Scoggins outlasts Alexis Mondahano, who shot an unbelievable opening round and was right there neck and neck with Ohn the whole way, but took a double bogey on 18, and Ohn took it down for her second silver win. At the Åland Open, Miro Ruhonen and Silva Saarinen get the victories. We got to talk more about Ruhonen. And then at the Järva Open, Luke Humphreys gets the win in MPO, and Olivia Chinstedt, who we talked a bunch about at the European Open, gets the win in FPO. Josh and I each pick up 5 points. He had Silva Saarinen, who beat my pick, Heidi Leina, in a playoff, and then I had Ohn Scoggins. So where should we start, Josh? What is the most interesting result from this weekend? And I think we should both go ahead and admit we didn't sit and watch all of these tournaments this weekend. After the European Open, everybody needs a little bit of a break.
I will say I checked UDisc after every round though. So
I did too. I was following.
Yeah, I was too. I was keeping my eyes very close on the tournament on UDisc, but also was not watching a whole bunch. It's funny, real quick. I wanted to make the comment. You said I didn't say Silver Series, right? You almost did. They now have Elite Series. They have United Series, but they refuse to call it Silver Series. That's infuriating to me. I don't get it.
It's not a series anymore.
Well, why? Everything else is a series. That's what doesn't make sense.
Okay, really quick aside.
Okay.
Somebody posted over on Reddit in the like post Mid-America Open thread. These silver courses are rad. They actually said these Silver Series courses are rad, so it's everybody's saying it. And Chris Clemens responds, "That's what I have been saying. So much more fun to practice during the week and compete on. These open Chuck E. Cheeser ball golf courses just ain't it." Okay, so we have pros out here talking about how much better these wooded disc golf courses, can you imagine, are than these Chuck E. Cheeser ball golf courses. Should we be considering a different approach to the broad strokes of the tour? And I will just say, Mid-America Open had to cancel MPO's holes 1 through 3 and hole 18 during round 2 because of flooding, which is a known problem at this course, which kind of is a problem.
Yeah. Well, here's your quick recap, right? The pros, it's I think more enjoyable to watch on camera. I think the pros enjoy it more. I think it creates creativity in shot making, and you get players who are not. I mean, let's be real. The reason Chris Clemens doesn't like ball golf courses is because he's probably 100 feet shorter than the guys who are throwing the furthest, right? So of course he doesn't like ball golf courses. So it allows a competition of different players who don't get highlighted enough because the tour doesn't favor their skill set. The cons, though, live coverage quality is garbage because the cell service is poor in a lot of them. I haven't heard. Are they going to have live coverage on the front 9 of Northwood?
As I understand it, they have invested in this crazy like cellular tower of their own that they can use to create like an area of coverage that doesn't otherwise exist. So as far as I know, they're expecting to have coverage across the tournament.
Okay, that's great news. Second, it's hard to get spectators in, which especially at big tournaments where you got priced, right? Like I
know we know all the arguments, right?
We know the arguments, yeah. Like so everyone knows I love wooded courses, right? I would much rather watch wooded courses. I love Northwood Black, and I cannot wait for it this weekend. But I don't know. I mean, I would have to watch it for a week or for a season.
Sure. To me, the thing that's happening, right? They're investing in this cell tower thing. That's how this has to go.
Agreed.
The courses have to adapt to allow more spectators. The media has to adapt to find ways to have the signal necessary to get a stream up from the woods. And we have to try to put our best courses forward. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying the tour doesn't do that. But a lot of times, some of the most interesting courses are relegated to the silver events. Interesting thing to think about. You know, Chuck E. Cheese or ball golf course. I'm never going to forget that. I'm going to be saying that forever. Okay. So back to my question.
Yeah.
What's the most interesting story from this weekend?
I think it's got to be the All-End Open. Miro Ruohonen and Silva Saarinen. On both sides, actually. And here's why for me. I know, Charlie, you've got some things you want to add about Ruohonen that I think are really noteworthy. But for Silva, she comes back. You know, we've seen her playing incredibly well over in Europe. Doesn't play well at European Open, and you know the thought is, that's kind of the full field shows up and there's the true colors are shown, right?
Sure.
And maybe that's the case, but So maybe it's true that she isn't quite on the full level of the tour, but Heidi Leine takes second at European Open, and then Silva Saarinen bounces back and beats her out in a playoff. Like that's a legit win. That's a legit win and an impressive win, and just continues to demonstrate that Silva is somebody you've got to watch as time goes on, because I think she's going to be just a top contender that comes out of Europe.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we have to start talking the same way about Miro Ruohonen, who is not somebody that was on the radar at all before this year. But look what he has done so far this season. First of all, he straight up out-duels Nicholas Antela and Eagle down the stretch to win this tournament. He, in round 2, strung together birdies straight from holes 8 to 18, and then continued that into round 3 with 5 straight birdies to open, which is 16 birdies in a row in the tournament. And then was able to hold off those 2 guys. He had a 2-shot lead going into 18. He missed a putt. Probably just, I actually didn't watch the actual thing, but he probably laid up. So he averages 1061 disc golf. But Josh, he's only 1006 rated. 1006 rated. He's gone.
That's why he hasn't been on our radar.
Exactly. His rating has gone up 33 points this year. He won a Prodigy Disc Pro Tour event. He's been around the top 10. But, he was 42nd at European Open. I don't think we said his name.
Right.
And yet he goes out there and beats arguably the best player in Europe and a top 3 player in the United States. And he had all the opportunities in the world to blow it. And he didn't. Yeah. I think that's very impressive. And I think when you see a performance like this against the caliber of competition that he went up against, playing at the level that he was playing at, you have to stand up and take notice and be like, okay, do we have a new MPO contender coming out of Finland? Because this is the kind of thing that feels like it might vault somebody into touring in the U.S.
Yeah, and it's that kind of... The reason it's so important to beat the likes of Eagle McMahon when he's over there, not only does it add credibility to your win, but it gets eyes on it, right? The number of people who watch events when their favorite American players go over and play in Europe, right? Paul McBeth, Eagle McMahon. I have no doubt in my mind that those tournaments had more viewers because they were there, or at the very least people who were watching on UDisc because you had some top American players who were in the field, which means Ruinen gets known by them. They get seen. And that's an important point in getting the sponsorship money necessary to come over to the United States to afford to be able to tour in the United States. And a couple more like those. And I have no doubt that we're going to see him get to come over in the future.
Pretty awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Over at the Yarva Open, Luke Humphreys ends up winning by 3 strokes and didn't even really need to have a great final round to do it. He put together a hot round in round one shot behind the hot round in round 2, tied for the hot round in round 1, opened up a lead, and that was enough. Isaac Robinson's incredible 13 under in the final round vaulted him into second, but it was not enough to catch Luke, who took a double bogey and still was able to win. Cool to see Luke Humphreys back on top of the podium. It's been a while since we've seen that.
What is this, Waco of 2022? It felt weird, and it's one of those feel good stories, right? It's always nice to see beats out Isaac Robinson, Alden Harris, Kevin Jones, and a handful
a bunch of good Euros. Yep.
It's a cool win. It's a cool story to see. I'm glad to see it. I think I'll be honest. I think this one is the least interesting of the 3 silver events. I read into this one the least. So
yeah, Olivia Chinstead, who I think was arguably the favorite coming in, gets the win. I think I took Togias Moniste. She finished 6 shots back. So yeah, nice. Chinstead has been a cool story this year. It's been nice to have this Euro coverage to help us feel like we're starting to learn about the players from the other side of the pond.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's talk MAO. Gannon Buhr, Andrew Presnell. Prez forces a playoff on 18. Even though he's super pinched off of his drive, he throws an awesome second shot to put himself well into position to chip up onto the green. And Buhr catches a tree on his second shot and has to play for par. So Prez forces a playoff, and then in the playoff, Gannon Buhr misses maybe a 20-footer. I mean, a shocking miss for a player as good on the green as Gannon Buhr is. And Presnell taps in to win at a home state tournament for his first ever tour win. Dude's been grinding and talked about it in the interview afterwards about how much it can be hard out on the tour, and to finally get one is just so satisfying and so great to see. It's a real feel good story.
Yeah, it really is. And this is I'm gonna steal your line here, Charlie. This is what the silver events are all about, right? It's players who otherwise aren't winning on tour, and even if, and it's so interesting to me, and maybe it's because of the type of courses they play on, but there are a lot of silver events where you have top level players who are in the field and still end up in a close battle with someone who otherwise wouldn't be, who often isn't as competitive at the full events. And so to see someone like, Presnell, who's been on tour forever and is a name that we see pop up every now and then, be able to go head to head with Gannon in a playoff and take it down, it's just such an exciting story that highlights the importance of these silver events. Number one, I think it's important for Prez and his career. Number two, I mean, a $3,200 payout, that's nothing to shake a stick at. And then number three, you combine it with the fact that you get to see, Gannon Buhr, like I was talking about a little bit ago, Gannon Buhr's presence brings attention to that tournament, right? Seeing top players brings spectators, that brings viewers, and then for Presnell to take that win it's just a big deal for that kind of publicity and any name recognition as well. So it's all about the silvers.
And I mean, we got to talk about it. Joel Freeman was in a position to win this tournament. He fails to birdie the easiest hole on the course in 16, and then he bogeys 17, and then he triple bogeys 18 and falls down the leaderboard, out of the mix, and ends up finishing tied for 7th. And, had a very, very good chance to win this event. What do you make of that? Is that, I mean, we've seen this from Joel before when, like, it's go time. Remember USDGC a couple years back, and suddenly didn't have it.
I mean, that's kind of what Joel's known for, both on like Instagram and just not having the kind of mental fortitude necessary. Joel has all the skills to win an Elite Series event. We've seen him in the mix a couple of times, and it's kind of, I think he was one that we even talked about when we talked about who's gonna, like, regular contenders who don't have a win yet, right? He's a name that pops up there. And he just has to figure out that mental game and keeping it together. He's one that you can tell gets frustrated on the course, and when he gets frustrated, his game kind of starts to fall apart. You highlighted it. He birdies 16, even par, and then it looks like so then he we say he and a ton of people were parring 15 as well. So, like, or birdieing 15, excuse me. If he gets a couple of those strokes and plays the back clean, I mean, this could look completely different.
I mean, of course. I mean, it's a challenging thing. Like, even somebody as steely as Gannon Buhr, who has gone and won the USDGC with people breathing down his neck, can get caught up in the moment and make a mistake. It's just that's part of the game. That's what makes disc golf interesting. When Anthony Barella cannot throw it onto the island at the European Open, it's hard to watch, but it's also captivating. Mm-hmm. And that's part of the game. It's part of the game. Joel Freeman's going to get one someday. Has he? Now I'm wondering if he's won one.
My gut's saying he's won like a national tour, but one thing I want to highlight while you're looking at this, I think Gannon Buhr also deserves a little bit of a knock, not just from the playoff, but he goes in and 14, 15, and 8, or 13, 14, 18, he all pars, and Prez went 5 straight birdies, right? Like, Gannon could have walked this tournament in as well. He had the lead going into the final hole and could have closed this out. That we highlight the putt because it's an obvious mistake and a mistake that Gannon should not be making. But Gannon really shouldn't have been in that situation to begin with. He had the control going into the final stretch that he could have prevented the playoff from ever happening, and failed to do so. And so, the real, I mean, yes, he missed that putt, but I think that was indicative of just kind of a weak closing performance from Gannon that opened the door for Presnell. And I don't know, maybe Gannon.
Hey,
I
and
don't know.
credit to Prez because the dude went out there and birdied
Yeah,
5 straight and
huge.
basically had to do that in order to end up where he did. So pretty sick. That great win, well deserved. Joel Freeman has won a silver. He's not won an Elite Series.
Okay, all right.
How could I forget Butler County when he played out of his mind
that's
last year?
Right.
That was awesome.
That was awesome.
All right. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Ohn Scoggins joins us, and we will talk to Ohn after her Mid-America Open win and get a little bit of context about, what happened with Alexis on 18. And it was a great weekend for Alexis Mondahano. What an amazing opening round that she had. And the score was a 9 under, which was just awesome. Shout out to Holland Hanley, who also shot a 9 down in the second round. Kat Mertz shot an 8 under in the third round, so some really nice scores. Ohn Scoggins, though, was steady as she goes and shot a 7 under in round 2 to make up a bunch of strokes and then was able to take it down. So we will talk to her next right here on The Upshot.
At Pound, the quality of our gear runs deeper than the stitching. That's why we make everything right here in the US, employing highly skilled, well-paid professionals. From bomb-proof Cordura fabric to YKK zippers and recycled plastics, we source the highest quality US materials to make the most comfortable, durable pack in disc golf. Our lifetime warranty stays with the pack, not the purchaser. So regardless of how you find us, we will be here to make sure your pack stays on the course and out of the landfill. Pound's integrity is held together with more than just thread.
Joining us now on The Upshot is Ohn Scoggins, who just took down the Mid-America Open in Columbia, Missouri this past weekend. Ohn, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for joining us. We are big fans, Ohn, and we have been waiting to have you on the show for a long time. So thanks for making some time. I know you have a tea time coming up, so we're not going to take up too much of your time today, but congrats on another victory on tour. It was a crazy one, and it really came all the way down to the final hole, didn't it?
Yeah, it is. Me and Alexis, we try to be chill, and we know hole 18 is such a big drama, and this hole, I know in my head, like anything can happen. Anything can happen, and depend on who gonna play well or hit the line, and I know in my mind like hole 18 is gonna take like win or lose on that hole.
So, Ohn, I think something that we've remarked when we watch you play is that, relative to some of the other players on tour, thinking Holland Hanley, Ella Hansen, Paige Pierce, your distance isn't quite as far as theirs. What are some of the things that when you walk up to a hole and know that you don't necessarily have the distance advantage, that you to make the decisions in your head in order to stay competitive? Because you're competitive week in and week out. It doesn't matter the course. Even on courses that were like this course is designed for the likes of Ella Hansen, you still managed to finish on the podium. How do you do it?
You know what? When I walk to the tee pad, all I have to know, like, I have to hit the gap. I have to go, what you call, nail the hole. What do you mean? Like sometimes it's just narrow hole, even long. So my game is to just go, what do you call? Like I said, hit the gap. So to not go to the left, to the right, go straight as much as I can, and then throw another layup, and then hopefully make the putt here and there. You can throw far, but if you just all over the place, and it doesn't matter, But I'm not throwing far, but I'm quite accuracy. That's why on the game. I play with the long course, here and there. I remember I played last year. We're at Kansas City, or was that World last year, whatever.
Emporia.
It's very long.
Uh-huh.
Long course. I play a long course like the whole week, and we have so many women. I still make top 8, and with a lot of mistake out there. I play Poland Open. It's the B court. I still got top 3, and I mean the distance is very important, but I feel like accuracy is more important also. It is the same important. So. And I feel like this year I was a little bit throw further than last year, and for me that's the huge happy for me. Even 5 feet, I'll take 5 feet every year.
Yeah, I mean, I want to ask you about that because it feels like you're playing the best disc golf we've ever seen you play, and you're dominating the Masters division, and then you're incredibly competitive on tour, and it feels just like a matter of time before you win an actual Elite Series event on the Pro Tour or an FPO major. How have you continued to progress your game as much as you have, considering that you're in some cases playing against 20-year-olds?
I just feel like I just work harder, even than last year. Sometime last year I play one round, but throw a lot of shot and then putt. But this year I played 2 round a lot of golf. Like yesterday when I arrived here, I played 2 rounds in the Northwood, like,
Wow.
and starting like 4 I just feel like I even work harder, and I feel like when I work harder, my game should be improved. Even I get older every year, but it doesn't mean like my game gonna slippery. As long as I put my heart and hour on it, I feel like you can improve the game as long as you work hard and put everything on it. Doesn't matter how old you are. I think you still can improve your game. Yeah.
I was looking at your PDGA page, and you have entered in a handful of Pro Masters events, typically the majors, which makes a lot of sense. You haven't lost a Pro Masters event since September of 2021. Every other Pro Masters event, and including in 2021, you took third at Tim Selensky that year, but you also still won the Pro Masters Worlds. So you have a third place in the past 3 years. Other than that, you've won everything else you've entered. At what point do you have a point in your head that you say, okay, when X happens, I'm going to just move over and start playing Pro Masters full time and winning every event that there is?
I have thought in my head like that because if it's too hard to compete on the young side, I can go with the 40 and then hopefully maybe try to finish podium up there more often. Here I want to talk about Tim Slingsky. I finished third place because I have a major sciatic nerve going on at that time. I have sciatic nerve happen on the day 1 of my tournament on hole 4, and have I never feel anything that hurt before. So painful, so hurt. I barely walking. I barely get up of my bed. But I just talk to myself. I never quit. I never cancel tournament. I never quit tournament before. And for me, I would talk with myself like, I don't want to quit. And I don't know how it feels to be quit. Even I hurt so bad. Like, if I hope no one go through that pain because I take ibuprofen 2 or 3. It still like hurts so much, but I continue keep playing. But I could not throw much. I just kind of stand and throw. That's why I think the reason I'm not playing well on that time. But like I said, I know a lot of women right now. They're getting more and more like near to play with me on 40. Like 4 or 5 of them, I know, like couple 2, 3 years, they will be like play with me, and in the future, and 40 division will get big. So I'm in the future will be hard to be win. So right now, I'm just gonna take the win the most I can.
You didn't make the trip over to Europe. Does it bother you to miss out on a major? It's obviously a big, expensive trip. I'm just curious for your thoughts and what's a very cool tournament.
I have been asking a lot, all my fan and friend, and ask me why you not go to Europe. I was like, it's very expensive. I asked my girlfriend who been there, and it cost them only one person, not even boyfriend or husband go with. It cost them like $6,000,
Ooh.
$5,000 to be there, and it's tough for me because I never been to Europe before, and I don't want to go by myself. Either if I have money, I need to like pay out with some of the girl and maybe share the plate. But even that, you're gonna spend like $5 or $6,000 out there, and right now that's a big money for me to go there, and we'll see if I have more money or who knows, and then maybe in the future I would love to, because why not? One time of the life. But right now it's just way too expensive.
Going into Ledgestone, how are you feeling about this event? You're coming off the win at Mid America. Are you excited? Are the courses looking good?
I'm very excited. I practiced so much, and today I have planned to go and play another 2 rounds, and then tomorrow play Sunset 1 round. I got second place last year, but this year is different. All the lady would just play better. They're working hard, and I know a lot of people will play good this year. And my game, if I make top 5, would be great. And but otherwise, of course, I want to win for sure. But I know people play good this year. It's just so much. It's so much challenging lady out there, and I'm just not sure. I'm probably think of myself like maybe 50, because I don't want to think too high, and then if I could not reach my goal, and then I will crush my heart. So I just talk with myself, hey, 50-50. If I win, will be great. If it's not like top 5, I would love to take top 5. But I'm very excited. Nothing nervous to me. I feel I feel the win, so I'm hungry. I want to have more.
Yeah, you haven't missed the top 5 since Music City Open. You got a couple of second place finishes in that time, obviously winning the silver this past weekend. How do you feel like your performances so far this season compared to last year? Like, you're a little bit further down in the standings, but that's a little misleading because you took some time off of the main tour the last couple weeks. Do you feel like you're playing better than last year?
I think so. Because I feel like my game getting better. My drive, my backhand, my style. But my putt was like slower than last year. But overall, even I have a rough time putting, I still putt better than a lot of people out there.
Still number one.
My because right now I'm looking at my Pro Tour point. I was top 8 because I missed 4 or 5 Pro Tour.
Right.
I'm going to catch up.
Yes.
Those lady was already over 4, 5 Pro Tour over the place, so their point is not gonna different much. But after when I play 3 or 4 the tournament Pro Tour, my point will jump ahead of them, like a lot of them, sure. So
right.
Overall, if I play like 4 more, I should be like top 5, I believe. If I perform well out there, I need to make a top 8 or top 6 with all the Pro Tour tournament left. So that's why I'm not worried. We'll see if this Ledgestone I make top 5. I'm pretty sure that my point will jump ahead of 1 or 2 of them, and so far so good. Never doubt the old lady out here, guys.
What's your favorite thing about touring and playing disc golf all over the country?
See beautiful stuff. See a lot of beautiful state, and check it out. A lot of place to eat. Go, hang out at brewery. Check it out downtown here and there, and go swimming. Check it out. Pretty much I love like nature. I love traveling. I love driving and see here and there. So that's my fun stuff. And plus, you make money on the road. So
So I want to ask you: are you familiar with the phrase "somebody's got that dog in them"?
dog.
Yeah. So it's like if somebody's just like got that fighting spirit, you might say that they have that dog in them, like they've got the dog inside them.
Oh, you mean another player who plays?
Well, I mean, maybe I would love to hear who you think has that fighting spirit, and who else on tour's got that dog in them.
Oh my God! Of course, everybody like Tata for sure.
Oh, sure.
Tata,
Yeah.
Cat Merge,
Okay.
my friend Lisa, Holly Haley, Haley King. Yes.
Yeah, sure.
God, who else? Ella, of course. She's hungry. Missy, hungry. God, it's a lot. I could not think right now, but I know like 3, 4 more. They was like, I want to, like they not hearing anything. Just try to like crush it out there. Well, I'm one of them too.
Yes, you certainly are. You are the honorary. You've been named the Ohn Scoggins Dog of the Day award that we give out on this podcast when somebody really has a great performance out there, and you've won so many times that we had to sunset you and put you as the name of the award.
So busy guy. I'm on the road, and most of the time, like sometimes my phone was not even Wi-Fi. It's pretty bad, like internet, and also like I practice like crazy. I have some stuff to do, and then I took like almost a month off to just like take care of my teeth, see a dentist, and check it out my house. Fix things up in my house. So yeah, so finally, like this time we have right on time, and so we can make it happen, and hopefully in the future I make win here and there, so we can see you guys again. And
we'll certainly have you on again. I know you got to make your tea time. Hopefully we didn't make you too late, so we'll let you go. Thank you so much for coming on, and good luck in Ledgestone this week.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for having me.
Ohn Scoggins with us on the Upshot. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Upshot. Thanks again to Ohn for making time for us. You gotta love Ohn Scoggins, Josh.
She adds at the end, and I think I got that dog in me. Like, yeah.
You'll love it. It's so cool. Like, so she constantly exudes positivity. Like, even when she misses a putt during Mid-America, she laughs it off. Like, and it's really, I feel like it's super inspirational. Like if you're a player who's on the older side and you're like, I can grind and get to that level. I mean, look at the way she plays the game. Mm-hmm. Just talking about like how she just tries to be super accurate with her drives, and feels like her putting is worse, which I guess maybe technically it is, but when you're still number one on tour, it's like, it's pretty legit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, take into account as well, when we were talking in the Rapid Reacts with Brian Earhart, he talked about how Kristen's game and Kristen's dominance is absolutely replicable. And, she is excellent in the upshots, but she doesn't throw the furthest. She isn't the best putter. She's very strong in all those categories, though. And I think Ohn mirrors that game plan in a lot of ways. I think Kristen does throw further than Ohn, and that
definitely,
right,
definitely.
And that creates a bit. And so there are some differences, but Ohn's discussion of just, I know I can't throw as far, which means I always have to be hitting the fairway and making my putts, is just a very, even players like Ella, for example, would do well to take that advice and say, my first priority is hit the fairway, and only then, and only if I know I'm going to can I start to push distance. That'd probably really improve her game. I mean, I don't know. It's not that simple, but Ohn mimics that.
If only we could all just
right.
throw it in the fairway.
Come on, Ella,
time.
just throw it in the fairway. You'd win.
Just make our putts. But it's true, Josh. I mean, Ohn, she knows where her strengths and weaknesses are, and she plays within herself, and she's going to finish top 5 on tour again.
Yep.
And that's very impressive. I mean, for her to not miss the top 5 at a tournament since Music City, like, that's wild. And I know she skipped a few tournaments recently, but still, I will not count her out of the top 5 at Ledgestone.
Yeah.
I really will not.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's funny because she's like, oh, it's 50-50. Like, I might win, but like, I really want to and think I should be able to finish top 5. And then I should jump a couple players when I do.
Right. Right. She's tracking it all. She's on top of it for sure. All right. Well, it's a good chance right now to take a look at where we stand in this season, because, so much we're talking about the individual tournaments, we're staying focused on the here and now, and we haven't really zoomed out and talked about the big picture that much. So because we're now through 2 majors, and I would say it feels like somewhat of the halfway point of the year. We've gone to Europe, we're coming back, and now we have this rest of the stretch. And maybe there's more tournaments in the books than that we have coming up, but the value of these upcoming tournaments is higher. Not only do you score more points, but we have the most prestigious Cup 2 majors still to come. We have the DGP Championship still to come. Monster payouts. Like, in a lot of ways, it feels like we're entering the second half, right, after Europe. So let's take a look at where we stand. So we crunched the numbers. So far this year, we've had 14 different winners in MPO and 12 different Elite Series and Major winners. That's already more Elite Series and Major winners than we had through the entirety of 2022. There were 10 last year. We already have 12 this year. Only 2 players have won multiple Elite Series or Majors. Josh, can you name them?
Yeah, that would be Gannon Burr and Calvin Heimberg.
It certainly would. Those 2 guys have been the best players so far this year, no doubt. And they're only 2 of 4 players that have won multiple tournaments on tour at all. The other 2, Eagle McMahon has a Pro Tour and a silver, and Ricky Wysocki has a Pro Tour and a silver in a truncated season, I will note. Mm-hmm. Everybody else has only 1 win. So pretty remarkable stuff. And it feels, Josh, like that's kind of a byproduct of the fact that we haven't seen those truly dominant performances from the likes of, Macbeth, even to some extent, Calvin, as good as he's been, hasn't done outsized amounts of winning, which has allowed these other players to get those victories.
Yeah, I think that takes me to the most interesting question here, which is for the MPO side, who is the front runner for the Player of the Year? That's I think just such an interesting question right now, because when you look at it, I think there are 4 guys whose names need to at least make the list. That includes your major winners, Isaac Robinson and Corey Ellis, and then your 2 multi-winners, Gannon Burr, 2 DGPT, 2 silvers, Calvin Heimberg, 2 DGPT, and 1 silver. Now, when you look at it just at that level, it'd be really easy to say, oh, this is, completely condensed. There's no, I think all of those are fairly close. I know majors are worth 150 points, but in my mind, I consider Corey Ellis's and Isaac Robinson's major probably as valuable as Calvin's 2 DGPT wins and 1 silver. But I think the real tiebreaker, that one I think you can go back and forth. But there's an argument to be made there, right? If you were just looking at wins, I think there's a legitimate argument that those majors are just as valuable as the wins. And if you're just looking at wins, Gannon Burr should be in first. However, and this is the stat that I think is important, Corey Ellis average finish 25.4. Isaac Robinson average finish 20.8, Gannon Burr average finish 11.3, Calvin Heimberg average finish 3.8.
3.8. Wow.
It's an incredible level. It's an incredible finish, and I think that's what has put Calvin and vaulted him into the number 1 spot, and probably why he's Player of the Year front runner now.
I think if the season ended today, you wouldn't have a choice.
I think you're right.
I also think that he is susceptible of losing player of the year if he doesn't win more tournaments down the stretch. And some of these other guys who already have majors or Pro Tour events win a major or two.
Uh-huh.
And maybe the Pro Tour Championship.
Right.
It is totally conceivable that Gannon or Isaac or Corey or even Eagle or Ricky, who already have a couple of wins, could still take down player of the year. But they'd have to start winning a lot.
Are there players who are not on this list who have not won yet who could still win player of the year?
Who haven't won anything?
Yep.
If you were to go out and sweep the next two majors and the Pro Tour Championship and place top 5 at basically everything else, I think you got a chance. But I find it highly unlikely.
If Calvin wins one more DGPT event, okay? But let's say, for fun, it's a thought exercise, Anthony Barella wins Ledgestone, wins MVP, and wins Worlds. Do you give it to Anthony Barella?
That's hard, right? I mean, these hypotheticals are tough.
They are.
Maybe.
I think you need, and it depends on if Calvin keeps winning, right? But the problem is, I think if Calvin doesn't win any more events, I don't think his average finish is going to be enough to buoy him over somebody who has a multi-time winner with a major.
Well, it just depends on who wins the next couple majors, I think. But I think the door is still open to a lot of players because, I mean, in your hypothetical, right, we have a player who's been solid on tour, AB, very solid, his best season so far, was right there at European, has been right there at a bunch. And if he starts to pile up a bunch of wins, it's conceivable. But I think it would take a lot because the totality of what Calvin has done this year is so solid, right? Every single week he is in the conversation. And that is not true for basically anybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, a 3.8 average is crazy.
It is crazy.
That's why it feels like he should have won more by now.
Right.
Because of how near the top he has been.
How valuable?
Remember some of these names that have won this year. Simon Lizotte won. Music City got the best trophy of the year.
Yep.
Emerson Keith won a Pro Tour event. Adam Hammis won a Pro Tour event. Parker Welk won a Pro Tour event. Evan Scott wins a silver. And then, of course, Andrew Presnell winning this past weekend. So a lot of names. And it's been if you like surprises and you like intrigue of who's going to win any given week, this is your season.
Yep.
If you want to watch dominant players be dominant and go neck and neck in crazy battles with each other, this has not been your season.
Well, I mean, no neck and neck battles, but if you want to see dominant players, just jump to the other side of the field.
That is true.
Yeah.
Give us the stats on Kristen so far this year.
So, for reference, there have been a total of 13 DGPT and major events. DGPT Elite Series and major events.
Right.
Kristen has won 7 of them.
Wow.
She has 5 DGPT events, 2 silvers, and 2 majors. After that, you have Katrina and Pierce, both with 2 DGPT Elite Series events to their name. Kat Murch then has 1 DGPT Elite and 1 silver event. Haley King has an Elite Series event, and then Sayananda, Jen Allen, Ali Smith, and Ohn Scoggins carry 4 silver events, 1 each, for the season as well. I mean, Kristen nearly has, if you roll majors in, she nearly has as many wins as the rest of the field combined across all levels.
It's wild. It's absolutely wild. Yeah, I mean, she has 5 Pro Tours, and there are 6 others combined with the rest of the field.
Yep.
2 silvers, 5 others combined for the rest of the field. 2 majors, 0 others combined for the rest of the field. I mean, it's been a remarkable season, and it feels like she's even let some get away.
Yeah.
And it's just hard. You go into any event, and it's hard to imagine somebody else winning. Obviously, it happens, But, Pierce is out of commission right now. Katrina has been mercurial. Kat Merch and Haley King, we haven't seen over the last couple of weeks because of the Europe stretch. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I love Haley King's chances at Smugs. She's obviously had some fantastic performances up at GMC in the past. But, it's still going to take a Herculean effort to top Kristen.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, the only question I think left for Kristen is how good does this season get? Does she get the calendar Grand Slam? Does she get the calendar Grand Slam plus extras of Throw Pink and DGPT Championship? Like at this point, it's just speculation of how high can she go. There's no other question left. It does not seem even remotely feasible that anybody could challenge Kristen for the title of Player of the Year this season.
You would basically have to have somebody win out.
Right.
Like Katrina or Haley or Kat would have to just straight up win out, right? Like win everything, and then maybe.
Right.
But, we know the recency bias is a thing. But yeah, I agree with that. It's hard. It's almost impossible to imagine. Last year, there were 7 different Elite Series and Major winners. This year, so far, there have been 5. And, will we get to up to 7? I don't know that we will. I think Kristen is just too dominant right now.
Yeah, I think so too. And just especially with, there's a chance with Paige being out that opens the door for a bad weekend from Kristen, letting, someone else slide up. Ohn.
Missy Gannon.
Yeah.
Maybe an Ohn.
Yeah. So we'll
some
see,
of the players who were not on the list. Yeah.
But it feels done. Feels done.
It does. That's not a conversation right now, right?
Yeah, right.
For
right.
POTY. What's the biggest surprise of the season so far?
I think to me, it's the relatively, on the MPO side at least, it's the fact that the major winners are a poor reflection of the overall season and expectations based on performance this season and in previous seasons, right? Isaac Robinson and Corey Ellis both are averaging outside of the top 20, and that is with their win included in those statistics. And both are able to take down majors. Now, I think part of that is due to the fact that our majors are mostly, except for Worlds That Moves, but most of our majors are on courses that are much more technical than a good stretch of the beginning of the season. When you think about some of those courses, Jonesboro, Portland, LVC, OTB, right? You got a lot of DDO, lots of open ball golf courses or very open relative to Champions Cup, WR Jackson, and even the Beast, and the front 9 at least, right? And the back 9 I still think is fairly technical. And so I think that what we're seeing in the past, it didn't matter because Macbeth and Wysocki, they were just too good, right? So even if they were able to win everything, but as the tour becomes more on these courses designed around spectators and media coverage and away from how our majors courses have looked in the past and currently look, I think what we're seeing is that as the parity in the field increases, you'll have players who are very successful on these on Jonesboro, for example, Calvin Heimberg, but have not, wasn't able to take down the win at the more technical Champions Cup, even though he was in the mix, right? That's not to say Gannon and Calvin couldn't. I really think that they could, but it's interesting to me because players who are otherwise not in the mix during the first half of the season can jump up and surprise us. And to me, that's
sure,
right. That's the biggest surprise. Corey Ellis and Isaac Robinson are the 2 major winners right now, and it's the only win that they've got.
Yeah, it is not what we expected. That's for sure. And, you look at last year, the winners, Chris Dickerson, I don't think had the best season of his career, but he still won the Champions Cup. And then it was Eagle, which if it wasn't, it's not surprising that Eagle wins a major, but it is surprising the way that he won it, given the time off that he'd had. And then Macbeth, who'd kind of had a ho-hum season, wins Worlds. And then Gannon wins USDGC. But those felt like, okay, it's like 3 dudes who are former major winners,
yep,
who are not surprised when you see them win, and then this rocket ship star that is Gannon Burr.
Right.
And then this year we have Isaac Robinson and Corey Ellis, which like they're great players, but like they are definitely surprises considering, you know, kind of the expectations that we had going into the tournaments and kind of what we've seen so far. I'll just say, I think Parker Welk is the biggest surprise of the year. That was crazy.
Great pick.
DDO, like what? Parker Welk, like who is Parker Welk? That was wild. Everybody else who's won, it's like known quantities for the most part.
Sure.
So
I mean, Emerson Keith was another big surprise.
It was a surprise, but we've seen that he can play at a high level, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, it wasn't World, so that's why it was shocking.
Right.
So pretty interesting overall season. And, you know, I think one other thing is it's like there's a little too much disc golf right now. Like I think this past weekend is a great example where it's like we're coming off the major and like everybody has been like ultra focused. And then it's like, you know, the European events, whatever, like those guys are just having fun traveling around in Europe and like, that's fine. But it's just a lot to ask to be like, all right, we got another DGPT silver event and it's, you know, Mid-America Open and here we go. And like people are dropping out and we have thin field and like, you know, it ends up being pretty interesting storylines. But the problem is just like, there's only so much attention you can give to disc golf.
Yeah.
Even for people like us who sit and talk about it on a podcast every week. Like you just can't every single week have to watch tournaments. It's impossible. And so I plead with the scheduling folks, please give front end and tail end to the majors. Give a week off around the majors, please. It is just, it's so nice to have that breathing room to like get ready and then enjoy the major and then have some time to just not think about it and then come back. You have something to say.
I actually disagree in this case. And here's why. I don't think you should have an elite series on either side of a major ever, or an important tournament ever around a major like that. So PCS, I actually have a bigger problem with than I do this weekend. My thing with this weekend, like, yeah, we didn't pay attention, but guess what? Gannon Burr and Prez, they didn't travel to Europe. So they want that opportunity to play a silver event.
Sure.
So if you want to have a silver event, great. I'm probably not going to watch it ever if it's after Europe, but and maybe in the case of like of other majors that are US based, then maybe it's more appropriate to give that extra week. But especially Europe, where most of the field is not traveling, give them a silver event. Either you certainly don't want it during the major, right? That's a terrible idea. So do it the week after, the week before over in the US. I don't care. I'm not gonna
I guess there's not much distinguishing silvers and elite to me.
Got it.
So I'm not, and obviously there's point differentials and there's some level of difference in coverage. Although if you watch it live coverage, it looks basically the same.
Yeah. So
to me, it's just like this onslaught of tournaments all the time. And like, you're right. I think I just don't have to pay attention to the silver, and that's basically what I do. Sometimes, right? It depends on the week, right? If we haven't had a tournament in a while and it's like a really well-attended silver, that feels like an elite.
It does.
I don't know. I still think there's a little too much on the schedule. And that's just my personal opinion.
That's a fair argument.
But interesting season so far. Lots that could still change between now and the middle of October. So we get ready for this couple of big events coming up here on the march towards Worlds. And it's going to be very, very interesting to follow it all. Ledgestone coming up this weekend. We will break it all down for you on our Thursday show. And that will do it for today's episode of The Upshot. Thank you so much for tuning in. For Josh Mansfield, I'm Charlie Eisenhood saying so long. We'll talk to you Thursday right here on The Upshot.